Hi, welcome to Crochet Collective. I'm really excited. This is the first ever tutorial video. The thing that I'm going to start off with, because it's something that comes up most often, is where to actually start. So there's so many different sized hooks, different makes of hooks, different yarn you can use, wool, cotton, acrylic. Generally in the UK, anything like this is referred to as wool, even if it's not actually wool, and it usually isn't. It's usually an acrylic blend, nylon, cotton blend, 100% cotton, but we generally just refer to it as wool even though it's not. Starting off, I would probably say the easiest thing to start with is DK, which is double knit. Your thinnest ones go down to like a 2-ply, 3-ply sock yarn, 4-ply double knit. Then you've got Aran. You might also see come up worsted weight. It's more of an American weight that don't tend to use it so much here. Then you've got your Aran, your chunky, super chunky. I think that's referred to as bulky in America, but DK is pretty much DK everywhere. You might also find on others, it'll give a weight, it'll say that it's a medium weight or something like that. So I'm going to start off today with one of these. I think yellow you'll see easier on the video. So once you've chosen what you actually want to crochet with, your acrylic blends are good for blankets, cardigans, jumpers, usual stuff. Something like cotton is great if it's going to be something that's reused a lot and washed a lot, like I use it for my soap pouches, my makeup remover pads, anything like that that needs to be not very absorbent. So then the next thing, which gets asked a lot, is what size hook to use. Now that will vary depending on which kind of yarn you use, generic term yarn. But you can also have a guide based on what you're choosing to crochet with. So on the label, it will say somewhere, it'll either have it written and it'll say needle or hook. This one suggests a 5mm, or in America that's a US 8 or H. Some won't necessarily have it written. They'll just have a little picture of a crochet hook, and this one suggests a 4mm. That one obviously for knitting needles. Something else you'll also see is tension. So that will suggest that if you use, this one is an example for knitting, but if you're using a 4mm, then 10 by 10 should give you those sizes. I don't think this one has it on. It gives a knitting tension. So 10 by 10 centimetres should be 17 stitches and 22 rows. It's not something I tend to look at much anymore with crocheting. Most of the things that I make, it doesn't particularly matter, and the tension will depend on how you actually hold the hook. So if we're going with this one, it suggests a 5mm. Now, they're probably your most common crochet hooks. This is an old set that's my nan's that she's passed on to me because she can't crochet. These are all her mum's. And they'll always say on them what size they are. These are obviously UK ones, so these have the actual size of the hook, how many millimetres it is. Some will have a letter on. For starting out crochet, although I do like these metal ones and they are very good, I would probably suggest something with a chunkier handle, only because when you're starting out, it can be quite tricky to hold the hook, and I just found that a chunkier handle makes things a lot easier. So that one's a 6mm. I have these beautiful ones that have been made for me. So again, they've all got their sizes on. So the other thing I suppose gets asked a lot is how to actually hold the hook. I tend to hold it a bit like a toddler holds a spoon. But you can also, I've seen people hold it like a pencil. You just have to practice and see what is best for you. I can't really do the pencil hold. I find it makes it very loose, but if you find that you're a tight crocheter, then that might be handy for you. So the first thing you need is to do a slip knot. That is how you will probably start all of your projects, unless you're doing a magic circle, but I can come to that later. So with your yarn, just wrap it around your finger. Obviously there's loads of ways to do this. So you've got a loop, and then your long end you're going to put through the hole and pull, and there's your slip knot. So pop your hook in slip knot, in fact using a 5mm, pull it tight onto your hook. So then with your little finger, just put the yarn over your finger, and then as you go in you'll find that you move your finger and that'll pull more yarn out of the ball for you. So finger and round, and then this finger is going to control your work. So you're going to hold that over your finger, between your finger and your thumb. So again, like I said, this is how I hold my hook. Others, you may prefer to hold it like that. So with the hook pointing upwards, you're going to start doing a chain. So foundation chain is what you can use to start any crochet project. Even if it says it's a magic loop or a magic circle, you can still use a chain if you prefer. So all you're going to do is with the yarn here, put your hook facing upwards, and you're going to around the yarn, turn your hook downwards and pull it through. That is now one chain. So counting your chains, it's this V shape here. So we're going to do it again using these two fingers to hold your work. Is again, take your hook, push the yarn backwards, turn your hook down, that secures your loose end into your hook and through. So I've now got 2 chains on my hook. And you would keep going like that for as many as you need to do. Most common complaint is chaining too tight. So that happens if when you've got this tension on this really tight, and then as you pull, if you pull your hook downwards, you're making that chain very small. If I do a couple tight so that you can see how those initial ones are quite a big letter V there, and then these ones are quite small and tight together. So if you find that you're crocheting very tight, you can either go up a hook size until you're used to it, and that will make your holes bigger, or just try not to pull on it so much. So you just want to keep this quite loose. You can also, before you do the next chain, is if you pull up slightly and make that hole there a little bit bigger, it gives you more to work through, and that will make your chain looser if your problem is too tight. If the problem is that you crochet too loose, then you just have to pull this hook down a little bit to tighten that hole. So you would then chain. And there is how to do a foundation chain. If you come across something that's a magic loop and you don't know how to do that yet, especially if you're a beginner, magic loops are used if you're starting something that's circular usually, or a ball. You would chain 3 or chain 4, and then you're going to put your hook back into the first chain. Doesn't matter if you catch the front one or just the back one. Pull through, and then pull through again is a slip stitch, and then you've got a circle. If you need to do a magic loop, I find the easiest way to do it is take your short end of yarn with your hand facing away from you, hold it over your 2 fingers. With your long piece, go around the back and to this side. There you go. Cross over so it's now on the top left. So you've come from the bottom right to the top left, and you've got an X on your fingers there, if you can see. Keep the long thread going, so you've now got 2. Use this finger to secure it, and then go under your first loop, catch the back loop, pull it through, and as you come through, turn your hook back upwards. So now, see, you've got that loop. Now this is a bit that most people struggle with, is then getting this off your fingers. So with this finger and thumb, if you're struggling, hold all 3 parts, so the twisted part on the hook and the big part of the loop on your fingers, and slide your fingers out. So you've now got this short end here, and this that's attached to your ball of wool. So hold the wool as you would normally, and that is now your magic circle. So you would chain 1, I'll just, although we've not covered single crochet or double crochet in the US, just do a couple to show you as if I was going to start a circle. So you would end up building your stitches on, and then with this short loop you would pull it tight, sometimes pulling it a little bit tight but not all the way. It's easier to crochet into, but you would pull it all the way tight and you close that hole. Oops. And then you would then crochet into the back into the first chain or the first stitch to complete a circle. So that's just another way, if you don't want to do the chain 4 and go back into the beginning, that is one way to get a circle. The other thing that's really handy to know when you start crocheting is when you get an end like this, whether it's on where you're joining colours or where you're doing a circle, is if you get this piece of yarn and as you were crocheting you would carry that with you. So you see there, you would crochet over it, so you're just keeping it on your hook as you go around. See, still there, crochet it in, and then that way, once you've say done 4 or 5 stitches like that, is you could then just get your scissors. Oops, see, crocheted a bit tight there myself, and you would just chop that, and that will be secure underneath all of your stitches then. That just saves you a bit of time when it comes to weaving in at the ends. So hopefully that all makes sense. The next video that I'll do will be on the stitches. So practice your chain, because without being able to make a chain, you won't get very far with crochet. It takes a bit of practice to get your tension right, to not do too tight and too long. So practice with that, and then we can move on to look at the stitches, which hopefully I'll be able to upload shortly, so that if you've mastered your foundation chain, you can then move on to doing single crochet or double crochet.